Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Michaela Peters. Yeah, here I am again without makeup because I have no reason to be wearing makeup, and I'm really surprised at the amount of me wearing makeup elicited pretty much exclusively comments about me wearing makeup and not really about what the video was about. Whatever, sometimes it's like that. Okay, so today I thought it might be interesting to sort of expand on the whole what it's like having an Italian-American family, because okay, I do often think about how much this influences my life. However, I don't always talk about it. And because I'm visiting my uncle and he was telling some stories of when he was a kid and when he met my mom and my uncle, like on the Italian side of the family, he's like, it was so weird, and like just how much of a culture shock it was for him. And I'm like, I'm used to it because like I live with that, but I realize it's kind of weird for other people. So one of the things that needs to be understood about Italian Americans, I mean really, like they are Italian Americans, is that probably out of any other European ethnic group that has immigrated to the US, they are the most proud of their cultural heritage. Hold on. No, so I was just talking about this like in the window, and I'm trying to give myself a more inconspicuous background, but alas, that is not necessarily working. But yeah, so I'm going to continue telling the story. So basically my uncle was like, your mom and your dad's, not my dad, my mom and my uncle started screaming at each other about something with cleaning the floor, and it was like this big fight and everybody was screaming, and then after that it was like nothing ever happened. And I'm like, yes, this is normal. And one of the issues with this is that sometimes I forget that that's not normal for everybody. So I think of the example of the time I was stuck with my grandmother for 2 weeks when we were in Finland, and we got upset and got into a fight about something, and then she was like actually upset about it for days, and I was like, wait, what, why? And I'm not really used to that. I just kind of forget things, and in general, it's probably why I'm overly forgiving a lot of times. But yeah, I don't know. Not that anybody really likes being screamed at, but the thing is, if I get screamed at, I'm allowed to scream back, and there's nothing wrong with that, whereas in most other cultures, that's not really going to be okay. And it's not always like you're actually screaming, it's just how you're communicating, so there's also that. Yeah, other things, dressing and grooming is very important. That's part of why I look a very certain way when I'm going out to these certain events, because that's how I was trained to be. Working from home does not matter, how I look. I'm definitely a lot less stylish than most of my family members. That's an economic choice, not necessarily like any other choice besides an economic one, because, traveling was my priority. Now it's owning property. But I'm trying to think what other things. People scream at each other. How you dress is very important. Sitting around talking about how other people dress and look is very important. Maybe some of this is just my family, but it's like a lot more superficial, I guess. And I'm not necessarily sure every Italian family is like this. This could just be mine. When I think about my friend's Italian family, it's also a lot more like things are just very dramatic, and it's like anything that happens with one relative, everybody in the family automatically knows. That happens a lot less with my dad's family than with my mom's family. So there's that. Yeah, you eat a lot of pasta growing up. I don't think it's like a moral failing to eat tons of pasta that is like, I'm eating carbs every day. Like, yeah, generally when I live by myself, I am eating pasta every day. And I remember telling this to somebody and they're like, you would never know. And I'm like, I guess my body is just used to processing pasta. Go to Italy, none of those people are fat either. I don't know why we act like pasta is the enemy. I think it's weird. Doesn't make sense to me. It's not how I was raised. Yeah, I'm trying to think what other things, and it's honestly kind of hard to recall. I do think of the story where it's like my one manager at the restaurant was like, I think I told this one already somewhere on this channel, like, I don't like how the chef is always screaming. I'm like, well, he's Italian. I was like, this is just how my family talks to each other. There's also like a lot of guilt tripping. So if you're not doing something that your family wants you to do, they're gonna really let you know that for years. Even if you don't change your behavior, they're really going to keep letting you know that. I'm trying to think what else people are doing. You have to live near your family. I don't know why this is a thing for Italian Americans. It's really required. it's really just not okay to go somewhere else. Now, I know a lot of people want to live near their family, but Italians are also really good at picking areas where there are enough jobs that people don't need to leave to go get a job. Now, if you're a little bit more educated like me, that can be a little bit of a challenge because I've always left, but I've always come back. And that's kind of a thing that people say about New Jersey in general, is that people leave, but they always come back. Why? Because New Jersey is a superior state, as I often say. I say it jokingly, but the thing is I actually mean it. So there's that. Aside from San Diego, but San Diego's not a state, so it's a city. Okay, yeah, it's a city, pretty much. Yeah, so you can't live that far from your family because I'm not really sure why. You just can't. I don't know. They really value, like, being family, and this was something my mom screamed at me about for, like, 30 minutes in the car. Yeah, car rides were honestly a pretty dangerous place, especially when I was a teenager, because I was a captive audience to my mom screaming at me about stupid things, including being Italian. Very ironic, you know, double whammy there. But she's explaining to me basically how you're, whatever I am, 4th or 5th generation Italian. I don't even know. I think technically I'm 4th, but she was telling me I was 5th. It doesn't matter. And she's like, so that means the family is important and you have to go to all these family functions. Also, you have to hug and kiss every single one of your family members every time you see them. Why? I don't know. If you don't, it's rude and you're not raised right. That kind of thing. Also, like, I do still kiss some of my family members on the mouth, like my mom and my grandmother. I understand that looks weird to other people. It's just part of what I'm expected to do. I don't think much about it. I just know it's weird. And yeah, like, why is living far away from family a problem? The thing is, it's not like we see each other all the time, but it's more of like, this is the side of the family that doesn't vacation together. We literally just go over each other's houses, which I kind of like. Going on a vacation together with your family is a very large commitment. And now that I have a full-time job and my days off are becoming more valuable to me, I've actually definitely decided that, to be honest with you, I'm going to be a lot more strict about where I'm spending my vacation days, and it's not always going to be on a trip with the family, so sorry to my family for that. Or I'll just work on it. That's probably the other thing I will do, because then, you know, I get to be present only half the time. Good plan. Yeah, no, I don't know, it's just overwhelming. Yeah, I mean, it is just sort of like your family's really in your business, and then there's weird drama, and then everything's really dramatic, and then everything's really emotional, and it's very, like, it's very integrated. I don't know how else to put it, but it is a culture thing, so, and it's also weird being, like, half of this thing, because, you know, it's kind of like people are like, oh, it's like the third culture kids thing. I actually feel that way, even though I've spent most of my life in America, and my parents don't even leave America, but this is what it feels like. And I feel so rude when I say I go back to Italy, and it doesn't even feel like I'm in a foreign country, because it just reminds me of being with my family, based on how everybody's acting. So I don't know, I understand this is very, like, people may describe this as very culturally insensitive. It's just, you have to understand that, like, Italian Americans are, like, another breed of something. I couldn't even tell you what. Yeah, we also have, like, our own words that don't make sense. Somebody told me they might be, like, Yiddish, like Italian, or Jewish, like, well, that makes sense also, because I know that there's some Jewishness on my mom's side of the family, too, from, like, her dad, but you have all these weird words, like, nobody knows, like, galamad is calamari, and if you're Italian, you need to show that you're Italian by ordering it that way at a restaurant in New Jersey. It's, like, necessary. Galamad, what else do we say? If something is skeevy, it means it's gross. What other ones does my family use? I don't know how many of these are just, like, my family. The galamad thing is common, because people order that at the restaurant. I'm like, okay, thanks. I don't order it like that because I think it's weird, but it's a thing people do. Scooching out. It's like freaking out. Stop being a scooch. Zhazhazli. I think my great grandmother made that one up. and that means when something's too fancy. Basically, if you're wearing an outfit and your accessories don't match, that gets labeled as jajali. Yeah, there aren't that many of them, to be honest, but it's just the frequency with which they get used. Skeevy especially. Also saying oy vey all the time. I don't know. Supposedly that's a Jewish one. I don't know. Yeah, okay, that's all I can think of. Yeah, also I guess the other part of it too is being very like physically affectionate, especially with like small children. Like, yeah, the hugging and kissing thing is it's a lot. So I'm kind of used to it. So even with like the whole, I'm autistic and I don't like people touching me, it's actually like not the hardest thing ever. Because I was systematically desensitized starting at a young age. But I realize not all cultures are like that. So yeah, it's a lot more like probably up until the age of like nearly 20, my relatives are still wanting to cuddle with me. Now at this point they left me alone, but you know, that was a thing. I don't know. That's probably everything I can think of for today. I just thought it was relevant because we had this conversation last night and I was like, okay, yeah, that's actually something people probably don't know too much about. So I also have not watched like The Godfather or The Sopranos or any of that, and I probably should to see like how much I identify with. That'd be interesting to give commentary. But again, that involves watching a screen, which is like my biggest struggle in life because I mostly read things. I don't watch anything. I listen to things. Yeah. That's everything I have for today. I need to work. And Lord knows there's a lot of work after a conference. I'm just going to try to get through the day. I finally slept through the night and didn't wake up at a weird hour. What a blessing. That hasn't happened in a week. Amazing. Okay, until next time. Bye.